Hi everyone, this is Stephanie Thomas
And I'm Mary Thomas,
of Thomas and Thomas PC, also known as,
Sales Tax Sisters.
and we are talking about deadlines today.
Yes, one of our favorite topics, although we like them all.
That's true.
This is something that's really important. When our clients come to us, when some clients come to us, most of the time they haven't really hit any deadlines yet. And whenever we find out we're dealing with a client who is not smack dab up against the deadline, it is so wonderful.
It is.
It is so wonderful. We're going to go back because there's something that people don't understand, and we're going to explain it to you fully. So if you were ever audited, you will understand. There are aspects when you are being audited that are deadline driven. You have certain periods of time with which to gather and present information. And it is imperative that you know, number one, you know when your deadlines are, and number two, you hit them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the very beginning. Depending on what kind of filer you are, you have deadlines by which you are supposed to have your tax returns in the state's hot little hands with the money. Know them. Make sure it gets there. And what's happening right now is most states have an electronic system whereby you file your returns and you pay. If the deadline is on the 21st, don't send the return and the money in on the 21st and think that, oh, I made the deadline.
You didn't.
You didn't. They have to have time to process it. You need to figure out when the actual deadline is. If they have to have at least 24 hours to process it, your deadline is effectively the 19th or 20th. Make sure you are hitting it. And state taxing authorities, the people on the phone, because I was getting ready to skip the word phone, they will tell you, we need 48 hours. We need 24 hours to process this. I just had a phone call conversation with a woman the other day, and I said, okay, the deadline's the 21st. And she was so kind. She said, yes, the deadline is the 21st, but your client has to have the returns and the money remitted to us by the 19th because we take a couple days to process it. It's not when they get it to us. Is it processed by the date and time? Some people say 5 o'clock on the 21st. So, it's you need to know your deadlines for turning in your returns and the money, because when you do get audited, if you have a situation where you owe money, you can ask for a waiver of penalty if you've been Johnny on the spot with your returns and remitting the payments.
Yes, and in terms of audits, they want to review your records in a timely manner. If something should happen and you're not able to provide those records right then and you need a little extra time, the controller's office is really flexible with you, and most of the time they'll try to work with you. But in terms of deadlines specifically, after an audit is turned in, you have a specific amount of time where you can say, I disagree with the audit results, and present your argument. And you cannot miss those deadlines, especially as it relates to presenting additional certificates, resale, exemption, direct pay, exemption certificates. We have a lot of certificates here in Texas, but I'm just talking about those three. Whatever certificate it is, you have a hard deadline to present those. And if you present it one day after that deadline passes, well, you're just out of luck.
And the thing about it is when Stephanie says controllers, the principles that we're telling you, they apply to all taxing authorities. The specific rules may not, but the general rules do. And Texas gives you a chance to rehab it if you don't have the certificates on file. There are some places that don't. If you don't have the certificate before or at the time of the transaction, or at least within 90 days of the transaction, you don't rehab that. That's a taxable transaction.
Yeah, so you need to know what applies to your jurisdiction.
Exactly. Know your deadlines for getting your documentation together, for filing your returns, for responding to your auditor, for responding to your taxing authority. If you are in the redetermination or the hearings process because you don't agree with something, what's your deadline for submitting the filing? What's your deadline for when they respond to you? What's your deadline for responding to their response to you? If they tell you, hey, you know what, we're going to revisit this. Why don't you show us X, Y, Z? They're going to tell you by what time they want to see those additional documents. Do you know that deadline? You should. Whoever's doing it. And it's not just the responsibility of your tax consultant if you use one. It's your responsibility to know it too, because ultimately you're going to be paying that. And what I've noticed is kind of a hesitancy with some taxing authorities to actually deal with your tax consultant. So if you are dealing with somebody who has that kind of hesitancy, again, communication is key. You're going to have to be communicating with your tax consultant so that they know what's going on. And another thing about that is that we have had instances where we've had to tell clients, look, if this auditor jumps the train and goes to you directly, we're going to talk with you. You let us know what's going on. And you know, we kind of circle the wagon so we can make sure that this person gets a considered approach and you know, and we're all on the same page as to what's going on here. Again, and I cannot stress this enough, don't delegate your audit to somebody and then fail to pay attention to what's going on.
It usually doesn't. Sometimes it can end well, but it's just better to be aware of what's going on.
And if you hire somebody or you delegate it to somebody and you never hear from them, you know, they never want a document, they never ask you for a production request, you need to see what's going on with that. It could be that the auditor hasn't teed you up to go in depth yet, or it could be that there's some communication, there's something that's missing. When you're being audited, you as the business owner, you as the person who's responsible, the CFO, CEO, you want to make sure that you understand and you know what's going on, even if it is just a bird's eye view. You want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I think with that, we're done with this one.
I think so. So, if this video has helped you, and we hope that it has, please thumb us up, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. And if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments section. If you have any concerns, drop them down in the comments section. The goal of this really is to make it so that you don't have audit issues. But if you do have audit issues, then arming you so that you can address them in the most effective, efficient, and professional manner.
That's right.
So with that, we're going to let you go. Until next time.
Bye.
Take care.